In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to add $10,000 to a high-ticket business in less than 48 hours. And the reason why I will tell you that is because we recently did just that with one of our new clients, Dylan, where he closed 2 out of 2 calls that we booked for him, collecting almost $10,000 in cash collected and more than $10,000 in revenue. And it happened because on the same day we scheduled 5 calls for Dylan, and he managed to close Michael and Jacob on the first 2 calls, and that's how he collected almost $10,000. And today I'm gonna show you exactly how you can do the same, because to do this you need 3 concepts. And actually, fun fact, this is always a challenge that we run internally with every single new client. So this is not something that happened by accident, but by proven systems that I'm gonna share with you today. So hopefully you can take them and have similar results yourself. So to make this happen, we need to talk about 3 concepts: appointment setting iceberg, hand raiser IG stories, and pre-call sequences. So let's actually start with the second one, hand raiser IG stories. Because first, of course, we need to gather some attention so you can actually convert it. So the way we do it is we use IG stories to filter the most interested and qualified prospects. So imagine that. It's kind of like peeling an onion, right? So you could just start messaging entire following, but then, instead of going through like inactive, unqualified following, you can also start filtering them out. So this is what most people do, and they stop at this level, okay? Because they will either go through following and just manually look who is qualified, who is unqualified, or maybe they will run some basic story campaign to filter the leads. So this step is to, of course, filter who is actually alive. And then the next step that, to be honest, 99% of people don't do is we need to identify warm prospects. And I'm gonna show you in a second an actual campaign that we have amazing results. And this is the same one that we used with Dylan, okay? So we need to identify who is the warm prospects. So aka filtering active following. And the way we do it is pretty simple. We use the hand raiser stories. So hand raiser stories is actually just a fancy name that stands from stories that make people interact, right? So it can be something as simple as a poll or like a DM or a call to action to DM a specific word. And of course, after we identify the warm prospects, now we can reach out to the warmest and most qualified prospects. And that's exactly what we did with Dylan. And that's how we manage, as you can see right here, schedule those 5 calls literally in 2-3 hours, right? Starting at 4 a.m., ending at 6 a.m. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, okay, but what do I actually put in the story? So as I said, I'm gonna show you what we recently been using, and we saw amazing results. So actually my business partner Simon was recently on a mastermind in Thailand, and this is what they showed, and we actually tested it and it performs really, really well. So you can just copy that for yourself and use that. So basically all you need to do is you post a story and you say, the last 6 years I've helped 64 amount of, and you just insert your client avatar, right? So for example, you can say the last 6 years I helped 24, for example, appointment setters. And then you just say, what would you like to learn? And you list 4 most common topics. And really important, of course, you do it as a poll, right? So for example, if we use the example of appointment setters, it would be something like land a high paying job, convert into being a closer, and all of that, right? And now, very important, everyone that interacts with this, you go and you send a voice note and start a conversation, then you follow up with it and you book a call. And this is extremely important. You need to use this exact script. So for the first voice note, you say this: hey John, just noticed that you voted on my poll about something. What is it exactly that you want to learn more about it when it comes to, for example, appointment setting, right? And basically those messages usually get 100% response rate. Like everyone replies to them. Okay, so this is what you run as a hand raiser story. Okay, so this is how you gather the attention, right? So we hand raiser stories checked out, and now onto the next one, appointment setting iceberg. And this concept is an absolute killer, okay? So Of course, you probably saw this picture or memes like 100 times, the top of the iceberg and how much bigger the iceberg actually is. And it's the same with appointment setting, because most people stay right here and most people never go down into those things. And the reason why they do it is because appointment setting is boring. But it's, to be honest, boring because you don't know how to play the game. Appointment setting is definitely not boring when it's making you more than $10,000 in one day. What's the top of the iceberg? It's pretty simple. It's usually something like this. So you found a script from someone who you admire. You just take it, you don't even tweak it that much, and you just copy and paste the messages. Maybe if you are fancy or if you are getting a ton of leads, you will hire some kind of appointment setter for $6 on Upwork. And then you are wondering how you can be getting 10,000 views on every single video and you are only getting one call a week. Okay, but why it doesn't work? Because appointment setting is all about the data, okay? So that's why almost every single one of those things is related in some shape or form about data. Okay, so let's talk about 4 things that I think are the highest leverage points when it comes to appointment setting. And those are the points that I really emphasize even on the first date. And we had all of those things sorted when we were booking those calls. So let's talk about them. First is a speed to lead. And this is crucial. Like, there was this study when they compared texting a lead within 10 minutes to texting them few hours. And what they found out is more than a 10x difference. Okay? No 100% difference, not 50% difference, 1000% difference. So let's stop for a second here and just think about this number for a second, okay? Because you might hear it, but you don't really internalize it. So that means if you were to change one thing, and that is, instead of replying to leads in 3 hours, you would hire someone or do it yourself within 10 minutes. This difference right here would 10x your sales. 10x the amount of calls that you are booking. So this is why we put so much emphasis on the first point. And this is why I have this note right here that info and service-based businesses just underestimate the power of speed to lead. So this is an absolute key, and that's why usually on offers we have 2 appointment setters working half day each. Because imagine, for example, that you are from Australia, right? Like Dylan here, and someone and a prospect, qualified, ready to buy prospect, reaches out to you from USA. Because you are sleeping, it will take you like 8 hours to reply to him, and after 8 hours he basically forgot that you existed. So this is why speed to lead is such an important and crucial step of any successful appointment setting. So now let's talk about the second one, A/B tests. And as I said, data is an absolute king. And as I said, most people never even track like basic data. What I mean by that is like the amount of DMs sent, the amount of replies, the amount of calendar links, the amount of booked calls. They don't even track that. So when you actually do A/B tests on every single step of the script, you are way ahead. And let me show you a real life example, okay? So this is a test that we did recently with a different client where we basically tried to figure out which messages are better when it comes to messaging people who follow. And look at the difference. Here, 450 DMs sent, right? So the test site is 400. Here, also about the same, 417, right? And look at the difference. From this campaign, we did 91 conversations. 91 conversations, okay? And from this, 69. And a fun fact is that this is the campaign that we've been running for literally 2 months before testing that. So we were missing out on 40%, okay? 40% more conversations, which means probably 40% more calls booked, which probably means 40% more calls closed, 40% more revenue. Just like that, just by tweaking few simple words. So this is the power of A/B testing. Now another thing which I think has a tremendous upside, especially for the tiny amount of work that it requires, is pre-recorded voice notes. So it's pretty simple to understand that when the setter is doing the setting for you, it can often feel like you are speaking to AI because he doesn't have the personality of you, the tone, and he doesn't sound like you. So the way to mimic that is you just record pre-recorded voice notes. And okay, what pre-recorded voice notes to record? It's really simple. Just look at your data, and that's why you need to track data, and see what messages are sent very, very often. Those are usually some kind of follow-up, a message after you send a calendar link, and things like that. And you can just go to ManyChat, right? And you can pre-record a voice note. So the way you do it is extremely simple. You just record a voice note on an iPhone app, you throw it into Google Drive, and then you download it and you throw it into ManyChat. And when you do it, your appointment setter can just send the voice notes, and of course try making them as personalized as you can. For example, having two variants, one to woman, one to man, and things like that. The more personalization, the better the setting. And the last thing is consistent data tracking. So very often when I speak to my clients, they say something that yes, they have been tracking data in the past, but it's just boring, they didn't have time, so they stopped, but they have a rough idea. And the truth is that you need to be tracking data consistent because it can really shift. For example, something that worked half a year ago can be a dead strategy right now. And when I say consistent data tracking, I really mean that. I mean day by day data tracking on every single KPI that happens. And when you have this data, look how clear right now you can judge what is working and what is not working in a business, because you have every single data point. You have how conversations are going, how much of them are being converted to calls, what's the percentage of qualified and unqualified calls, what's the show up rate, what's the closer. You can judge everything from there. And this is why data tracking is so important. And the reason why I tell you everything about the appointment setting iceberg is because it's really that important. Like, I can't emphasize that. Like, literally, this is a easy 10x. This is probably a 5x if you do it correctly. This is a easy 2x. And this is literally a fundamental step of every single operation, because without data, you are just shooting in the dark and you need the data. So this is why this iceberg, if you are going to remember one thing from this video, then please remember this, because this has the power to 10x your business. Okay, so we did talk about appointment setting iceberg. We didn't talk about hand raiser stories. Now the last thing, pre-call sequences. Okay, so as I said, we did talk about hand raiser stories. We did talk about appointment setting. So everything that happens before someone is actually on the call with you or with your closer is really important. But a good thing is that it requires a really small time investment to set up all of those things. So let me walk you through that. So first, a prospects book a call, and on the calendar page, as you can see right here, they answer to questions, right? Those are questions that ask about their finances, their situation, and all of that. And this will be really important in a second, so just hang tight. Now, they book a call, and the first thing that happens, they are redirected to a simple landing page. And please don't overcomplicate that, okay? Because on the landing page, there are just two things. First is a decision video and a VSL. And as I said, don't overcomplicate this. Literally, it can look like this. It can be a Notion page with a decision-making video on top and a VSL on the bottom. And this is it. This is the landing page. Now, they watch the decision-making video, they watch a VSL, and now a pre-call sequence rolls in. And this is why we have those questions here. Because now, based on the answers of a prospect, a personalized pre-call sequence rolls in and starts sending emails to them. And we usually have from 2 to 5 different variants of a pre-call sequence when we send them assets, content, and free value to really break down the limiting beliefs or just get them warm up for the call. And of course, while everything is happening, we also have appointment setting reminders that the appointment setters take cover of. And of course, at the end, the call happens and you have such a big probability of actually closing the call, because after all of this, the call is usually an onboarding call, not a sales call. And that's exactly why Dylan closed 2 calls straight away. And this is what we did to add more than $10,000 in less than 48 hours for our client Dylan. and you can take those three concepts and do it all by yourself. Or if you want to work with me so I can put all of those proven systems in your business, give you the same results as we did with Dylan without any extra work on your end, just shoot me a DM on Instagram and we will chat about it.